All that asset management, diversification, that's for idiots, right?
Diversification is a protection against ignorance. As practice generally makes very little sense for anyone that knows what they're doing.
Is diversification really for idiots? Let's talk about it. So, if you're a beginner investor, one of the main tips you'll hear when creating a portfolio is that you need to diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to spread them out across different companies, industries.
The one universal rule that idiots in finance know is diversification. It's the only free lunch. You got to diversify.
Single stocks are a bad place to invest money. You're much better off to be spread out and well diversified.
Knowing how to diversify well is more important than almost anything. People don't understand.
And while that advice is great and all, especially if you're a passive investor, there is a downside to it. So first things first, let's talk about the whole point of diversification. The whole point of diversification is actually not to maximize your returns. The whole point of it is to reduce your downside or reduce your risk, reduce the risk of you losing money. So that way, in case one stock falters, the other one helps reduce the loss. Like for example, recently I realized something that anytime tech stocks go down, stocks like Coca-Cola or Walmart would actually go up. These are what you call defensive stocks, meaning that regardless of economic conditions, they will survive and have consistent revenues. The main reason they tend to go up as tech stocks go down is because investors are looking for a safe haven, especially during uncertain macroeconomic times. So that's the reason why investors diversify, to reduce their downside. Hence why most investors invest into an index fund, right? Like VOO that tracks the S&P 500. However, there is an opportunity cost of this though. The opportunity cost of reducing your downside is that you limit your upside, which is why investors like Warren Buffett and even Mark Cuban like concentration and dislike diversification.
All that asset management, diversification, that's for idiots, right? Because you can't diversify enough to know what you're doing.
So having a concentrated portfolio means owning a few high conviction stocks rather than a wide array. For example, if you did your research on a stock like Nvidia way before the AI boom and you put all your money in it, you would have made astronomical returns compared to if you paired it with something safer like Coca-Cola, where if you invested in both companies instead of just Nvidia by itself, you would have reduced your returns. But it also came at the risk of losing all of your money. But sometimes investors diversify their portfolio by basically collecting stocks like their Pokemon cards, right? Like having a portfolio of 15, 20, 25, even 30 stocks, which is way too much, by the way. Again, this can help in reducing risk, but if you're buying up so much stocks, then you're just better off buying an index fund, because the main reason we invest in individual companies is because we as know something investors believe these few high quality companies can beat the market and gain outsized returns.
And to have some super wonderful business and then put money in number 30 or 35 on your list of attractiveness and forego putting more money into number 1 just strikes Charlie and me as madness.
Basically, what Warren said is that if you are a know something investor who has done their research on these companies and have a high conviction on 2 or 3 of them, and putting extra money into idea number 4 or 5 and just dilute your returns. Now, we're not saying that you should only own one stock. That is very risky. And even in Warren Buffett's stock portfolio, he owns a few stocks. What we are saying though is that you need to pick the stocks very carefully. I understand that it will be a few stocks that will drive majority of your returns. So I take Berkshire's portfolio, for example. The majority of his returns actually came from like 5 stocks: Coca-Cola, American Express, Apple, Bank of America, etc. And his stock portfolio is huge, yet a few investments actually pushed the needle.
You will find opportunities that if you put 20% of your net worth in it, you have wasted the opportunity of a lifetime, in terms of not really loading up.
So basically, to like sum all of that up, more concentration means greater returns, but greater risk, while more diversification means okay returns but reduce risk. But diversify too much and you might dilute your returns, and thus even if you have a big winner, if you have mediocre companies in the portfolio and they are dead weight, then the returns will be reduced. But it also depends on your circumstances. So let's talk about circumstances. So let's say, if you know nothing about investing and you're not interested in doing research into different companies, like you don't like that game, you don't have the time, then investing into a low-cost index fund will do the job. On average, the S&P 500 returns 8 to 10% per year. It's always recovered from major crashes. The only downside is that you may not get enormous returns, but for the average investor, this is a good strategy and you won't lose money. On the other hand, if you love researching companies and have a high risk tolerance, then you should concentrate. There's actually this paper that I found on Reddit called the 5x5x5 investment rule. It was developed by an investor named Tom Russell. Basically, it suggests that you have a maximum of 5 high quality stocks. You have 5 very strong reasons for owning them, and that you hold them for at least 5 years. If you are someone who has the time to research and the risk tolerance, this might be a good strategy for you. I might even make a video talking about this. Alright, so to answer the question, is diversification really for idiots? To me, no. If you're someone who is passive, but yes, for someone who is active, because it is pretty hard to keep up with like 10 to 20 stocks all at once. But like I said, it depends on your circumstances.
Diversification is for the know-nothing investor. It's not for the professional.
Now, if you're one of those know-something investors who loves Buffett, Munger, Graham, those people, I want to know the strategy that actually made them billionaires, and be sure to check out my last video where I talked about value investing. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stock market and finance related content.